Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I'm your host, Lore Dude, or sometimes Dude Runner, depending on your preference. I do hope everyone's been having a good weekend, and if you haven't, then I will destroy you. Okay, so, before I start anything else, I want to make a quick announcement, and I'm going to put this right at the beginning of the video because I want everyone to see this as much as possible, so anyone watching this in the VOD, or anyone who's watching the YouTube version of this. Next Loreweek, 1 week from today, the Floodgates are officially opening up again for the 2019 ruminations. So be thinking about what you want to try and suggest for that if you happen to be a patron. Do note that because the way we do this, you know, you have to be an active patron in order to be a part of that. But if you're an active patron, you get a say, you get a role, you get a vote. So be aware of that. That's coming up next Sunday. The website has been updated with a few things. Website. And we have... I've put a couple of things up on the schedule. It's kind of a weird schedule the next couple of weeks because of just absolutely bizarre game release times and the fact that I'm already behind on everything. I was thinking about jumping into 2 games that I've had on the back burner for a while, but the problem is both of those games are long. And I don't have a huge amount of time to push through that, you know what I mean? So we're going to focus on what we can and do what we can, and we'll see how this works out. But yes, we will eventually be playing Octopath Traveler. It's just that's an extremely long game, and therefore, by absolute necessity, is lower priority than other games. And we will be playing through Regalia, something I've been wanting to play for over a year at this point. I actually have a separate list over here. I've got 2 spreadsheets and 4 documents now to help me keep track of all this crap. That's where we're at now with all of this. But I do have a separate list right here of like a priority list. And if we have any spare time, we could spend it to work on other things like smaller games or shorter games. We might look at the No Man's Sky. People have been asking me to look at No Man's Sky, so that's an option. You know, assuming we have time. That kind of a thing. So... website. I have a quick question for you guys. This is going to sound like a weird question. So, I'm trying to find a new mouse. Now, I don't need one right now. In fact, there's no... Yeah, no kidding, Zetslayer. There's no, Well, I haven't even been looking at it, Dante, so I'm not too worried about that. There's no rush to finish my sentence here. There's no particular rush or, you know, oh my god, I need this right now kind of a thing. However, I've been trying to find a new mouse. Now, this is the mouse I use right now. You see this sucker? And I have been unable to find a mouse that is like this at all, in case I need a replacement, in case anything happens to this one. Now, I try to take care of my mice, but eventually this will break. Now, you're probably like, well, what do you need in this mouse? Well, let me highlight this really quick. There are 3 things that I need in a mouse, and there are certain things that I want in a mouse. The 3 things I need are these 3 buttons. So obviously I can't show this properly, but there's a button right here and a button right here on either side of the mouse wheel. Need those. And I guess it'd be this way. I need this button right here, the one that's resting under this finger. I need those 3 buttons, and I have been unable to find a mouse that has any of those. And I'm not even sure what to look for. Like, multi-button mouse usually is just the thumb thing, and I don't care about the thumb thing. So if anybody knows any mice that have those 3 buttons, please feel free to let me know. Or at least give me a direction to look in. I've been looking at Logitech's, I've been looking at SteelSeries. By the way, hi, Gallade. It has been a while. Hi, everyone. Who we got here? Let's see. Magister, Lurker, Hazardous, Bartman, Black Val, Mike Romano, Zedslayer, Dante, Hazardous. Did I say Hazardous? I already said Hazardous. Hans Yolo, Gallade, of course, Dream Whisperer, Necro, Anthony, Vigilant. Can I just buy the same mouse? No. They don't sell this anymore. I've tried. I've looked. Like, I might be able to buy one on the used market, but I have not seen any for sale when I checked yesterday. Yeah. So, if anybody finds these, like, those buttons are so mandatory. I use those for everything. You should see how much they're worn down by my finger use. It's crazy, because I use those top 2 and the side button all the damn time. Anyways, hi, Tara. So, if anybody has any ideas, let me know. Hi, Wraith. Hi, Max Time. Hi, Necro. Hi, Saraline. Yeah, thank you, Hazardous. Like I said, I've been kind of glancing. It's not an immediate priority, but this mouse will die someday, and I was thinking about it recently. And, yeah, it'd be nice to have one that works. Like, I don't even care about the cosmetics, as weird as that may sound. Although, I do like this mouse for another reason. It's large. Here, I can kind of try and show you this thing. This is the mouse right here. There we go. This is a big mouse, and I like this. I like having nice, large mice, because I have large hands, and so it fits my hand pretty well there, see? And then there's those two buttons I mentioned, and then there's these two, and then there's that button right there. That's what I need. Anyways. What else do I have to talk about here? Where's my list? I mentioned the mouse, I mentioned that. Let's go ahead and just run right into this. So, obviously, Gamescom was this week. Now, I didn't see anything particularly newsworthy. One thing I found amusing is several people popped into the BFA stream to say, you know, hey, they're going to announce the 8.1 news. And I was like, cool. You know, that's a leak, it's a rumor, but the person who was doing it was reasonably, you know, reliable. Well, it turns out they were completely wrong, unfortunately. So we basically didn't get any Blizzard news. Not really. Not of any significance. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run through just a bunch of random news that came out this week and kind of talk about that. So, for those of you not aware, BioWare devs, who no longer work at BioWare, obviously, but the BioWare dev team, not really Max Time, have sat down and they're putting out a new game. It's currently being pushed. It's supposed to be coming out next year. It's called Breach. It is a game. How many of you have heard of Breach before I start talking about it? Just real quick. Nobody's heard about it. Okay. Breach is an asymmetrical free-to-play game. And I find myself laughing a little bit about that. Just because, I mean, really? Like, again, this is not the BioWare people. This is the ex-BioWare people. The people who are actually BioWare. I don't even remember the name of the company. I didn't even write it down because it didn't matter to me. But the BioWare developers, who left the company, you know, a few years ago, are working on this game, Breach. And my first thought was, oh, okay, so the people whose biggest contribution to gaming was heavy story focus and heavy character focused and, you know, the BioWare staples of development and story progression are making an asymmetrical free-to-play competitive game filled with... What the hell? Why would they go that direction with it? I'm so confused by that. Either way, thank you very, very much, Valvatrix, as ever, much appreciated. By the way, I saw you pop back up on Patreon, so woo. Yeah, anyways. So, that's a thing. Grandia 1 and 2 are coming out on the Switch, so that's awesome. You don't know... Okay, asymmetrical means it's multiplayer PvP, and you got like a team of 5 and a team of 1. Make sense? And this person is trying to beat these people, and these people are trying to beat this person. Okay, that's asymmetrical. The free-to-play is exactly what it sounds like. It'll be free-to-play, and you'll pay money to get boxes and all that fun kind of stuff. And as far as, like, plot, you know, actually, I have no idea what the story is at all. I'm dead serious. I have no idea. The way it was described to me was that it seems a lot like Left 4 Dead, except there's actually a player playing the zombie side. That's kind of what it sounded like to me. I mean, that sounds okay. I'm just... Why would they go in this direction? I'm so weirded out by that. Breach! It's called Breach. I've said it like 8 times now. Breach. Breach, breach, breach. Anywho. Yes, the plot is very breaching. Yeah, no kidding, Dream Whisperer. Grandia 1 and 2 are coming out on the Switch, which is awesome. More games on the Switch, the better. Speaking of which, Saints Row 3 is coming out on the Switch. That's a confusing one. Why Saints Row 3? Saints Row 2 had a better story, and Saints Row 4 had better gameplay, and arguably better story. So why 3? I'm so confused. Maybe because 3 had the co-op thing? Of course, 4 had the co-op thing, and so did 2, so I don't know. Maybe we'll get 4 on the Switch. If 4 comes out on the Switch, I'll buy that. I liked 4 a lot. What else? Bloodstain's release date got pushed back. Obviously, we already had the 8-bit version, but the real Bloodstained is coming out next year now. Don't know what I think about that. They said it's for polish, whatever. Speaking of which, there was another one that's being pushed back, and I can't remember what it's called now. Oh shoot! It's the strategy game, the turn-based tactical game that's based on Advance Wars, and I can't think of its frickin' name. But that one is coming out at some point. It's been pushed back again to 2019. What else? We have a release date for Shenmue 3, for those of you who care. August 19th! Basically a year from now. Woo. What else here? Ubisoft is working on a new Settlers game. That one caught my attention. I was actually not really a huge fan of the Settlers series, but I did enjoy the most recent Settlers game, which came out like 10 years ago at this point. So maybe they'll make a good one. I don't know. Settlers is this weird like RTS city building hybrid thing, which was fun and just kind of weird. The plot of the last game was just bizarre and weird, but anyways. So we got a new Settlers game coming out. Who knows? I mean, Ubisoft games tend to be good and buggy, so we'll see where it goes. Now, I'm not particularly into the Anno series. I've tried many times to get into the Anno series, including the most recent one with 2023 or whatever, and it's something about it just has never really clicked with me. I don't know what it is. Yeah, Settlers is similar to Anno, just smaller scale and less complicated is the word I want to use. Like, you're still building a town, you're still building a thing, but your town is like this instead of like this. It's a less Sim City and more... God, I don't know what to compare it to. It's more something less than Sim City. Anyways. We finally got some single-player campaign footage for Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, which still does not actually have a release date. I've been wanting this game to come out for like 2 years now. What the hell? Where is this? Why is this game not out yet? For those of you not aware, I've actually never liked the Mountain Blade series. I've tried it several times and just been like, nah. But Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord has actually looked really good. Like, I was like, oh, dude, that actually looks interesting. That might be the first Bannerlord game I actually enjoy. And I said that when it was first announced at E3, maybe it was 3 years ago. I don't know. Whenever it was announced. And I was like, yeah! And we still don't have a release date. But they showed some footage, so that's good. That's good. Tropico 6 has a release date, which is already a funded premiere run, by the way. Yeah, Caesar is something I was thinking of. This Tropico 6 is a game I'm actually really looking forward to. Play an evil dictator simulator. Which I mean, it's a good way to roleplay something that I'm very much not. I definitely will not be killing my citizens left and right after naming them after viewers. But yeah, that's coming out in January. There was another game that kind of came across my radar, too. It's called Desperados 3. Anyone heard of that one? It's basically a Western XCOM. But it looks good, and I like the XCOM thing, so... Has it really... Someone look up how long it's been since Bannerlord was announced, because holy crap. Anyways, Desperados 3 looks cool. I'll be kind of following that one. So, we have a... I'm going to talk about this topic a little bit. How many of you have heard of Sega Ages? Before I keep going. Oh my god, Bannerlord was announced in 2012? You have got to be kidding me. Jesus Christ. Okay, I've changed my mind. I'm no longer interested in Bannerlord. That's... Oh my god, 6 years. Anyways, Sega Ages is Sega's particular approach to releasing their older games. I like and dislike this. So here's what they're doing. They're releasing old games, and the two that I'm going to talk about specifically are Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Phantasy Star 1. But they're releasing quite a few. They have every intention to do quite a few releases of these. The thing is, they're going to actually be charging a decent price for these, like $10 each, which is very questionable. $10 for Sonic the Hedgehog is just, huh? But they're also changing them a bit. For example, and I wrote down some specific examples here, in Sonic the Hedgehog, they're adding the dash, which was added in later games, and the drop dash from Sonic Mania. And they're making both optional. So you don't actually have to do them. You can just be a traditional mode or whatever if you prefer. In Phantasy Star, they're adding the ability to auto-map the map, which is extremely useful if you've ever played Phantasy Star. They're adding a bestiary, and they're adding a list of items to showcase what you might be missing up until that point in game. And apparently this is just kind of what they want to do in general with all their old titles. Again, I'm not sure what I think of this. On the one hand, I'm in favor of, because I'm in favor of, you know, saving history, right? I'm in favor of ensuring that the past is not forgotten and dead. But on the other hand, this just feels like a weird move. And it's $10 is a bit much, if I'm being honest, for Sonic the Hedgehog, even if they're putting effort into it. All of that being stated, though, I think I am overall in favor of this, just because at least some company is actually going out of their way to try and, you know, actually keep older games going forward in a restorable or reliable manner, rather than companies that are trying to do everything they can in their power to shut down the history of the past and try to actively destroy what games existed in the older days. I can name several companies that are doing that right now. So, I'm with it. You know? We'll see. We'll see where they go with this. We'll see where they go with this. What else? Looking at my notes here. Did I miss anything? Also, I just got a new patron, who I know who that is, but I'm not going to say that nice. Yay! I'm not going to respond to that just yet. I'll wait till I'm done streaming. Okay. Yeah, past works? What are those? Look, I'm sorry. I love Nintendo developers, but Nintendo corporate needs to be conquered by me. Oh yeah, for those of you who care, I'm only going to say this very briefly, don't worry, but I found out another reason why BFA is just weird. That's all I'm going to say about it. It's just... Every time I hear more about BFA, it's just, really? Okay, so actual news, supposedly. So let's go ahead and talk about Valve, shall we? And we want to talk about Valve. So, Valve has released something. Now, I don't have the ability to look into this personally. And what Valve has been doing is getting a timestamp. They're trying to make a thing so that Steam will run basically a Windows shell on a Linux box. Yes, I know, Gallade. Do you want me to say your real name on camera? That's why I said I know who that is, and I'm not saying, because... Thank you, Gallade, though. So, yeah. Valve is trying to Windows shell on Linux to make it so you can actually play games on Linux. Now, I don't actually like Linux personally, just a preference thing. I don't really have anything against it, it's just not my thing. But I know plenty of people who like Linux and basically refuse to play it because they play video games. Right? I mean, if you're gonna play video games, you basically need a Windows box. That's been true for decades at this point. Hell, even if you have a Mac, you generally need to have some kind of Windows thing going on. So anyway, supposedly, I want to stress this, supposedly Valve is making it so you can actually make Steam games playable on Linux. I don't know specifics because this just happened, and I don't know anybody personally who actually uses Linux because all my friends are gamers. But this is interesting news, and I actually kind of like it because, you know, I'm always in favor of things that give you options or choice, and I'm always in favor of people being able to do things how they want to, you know, anti-exclusivity kind of a thing, you know? So, woo! Now, what I want to talk about, though, as far as a topic here, is... Let's assume for a moment that this works. And this is actually something that is significant. Yeah, Linux is coffee, exactly. Or Linux, I've heard it said both ways. Unix is also coffee, for reference. I've actually, most of my experience with Linux has always been on a server side of things, back when I actually used to do network engineering on a regular thing. But anyways, like I said, Lurker, I wasn't able to find a whole lot of specifics about that. I don't know how good it is. But anyways, let's assume it works well. Let's assume this is actually a good thing. What I want to know is if this is going to apply to anything else. Like, for example, there are certain games right now that I can't play, despite being someone who uses Windows, because I don't have Windows 10. So is that the kind of thing that's going to actually allow people to play Windows 10 games on Linux? I don't know. Now, it'll probably make most standard games be able to be playable on Linux. However, at the same time, how's it going to do things like DirectX, for example? Are players going to, excuse me, consumers going to have to set up their own DirectX thing, or is whatever it is they have involved going to make DirectX work? I guess how are they doing this exactly? You know, there's so many questions here I have, and I'm very curious. Again, as I said, I'm in favor of this, even if I don't personally care. I do also always like the idea of more people being encouraged to not have Windows. I mean, I don't have anything against Windows personally, but I do think that it's a little bit too monopoly, if you know what I mean. So, I don't know. I also find myself wondering how buggy it's going to be. Like, we assumed it was good. What if it's not good? What if there's going to be just issues? What if certain physics engines don't work properly? You know, I don't know. The topic I wanted to bring up here, though, I suppose I've been dancing around this for a bit. This is the kind of move that makes a lot of sense to me for Valve to do, because it's trying to widen their already gargantuan player base, basically. It's trying to say, hey, all those Linux users out there who would like to play video games, we got you covered, right? Trying to get even more people involved in get involved in gaming and get involved in Steam, and then give Steam more money, which gives Valve more money, etc., etc. And that makes a lot of sense financially. If it actually runs properly, that makes a lot of sense creatively as well, because of the reasons I've already talked about. What I'm very curious about is what this is going to do to the market. Like, is this going to encourage any other developers to try and be pro-Linux as far as making their games, or this is something that was brought up in chat just a minute ago, is this going to make other developers less likely to try and make any Linux compatible games and just say, well, screw it, let's just put it on Steam. Let's just let them handle it. Flunk, right? I don't know. I suppose we'll have to see how this works out. Like, I'm also curious, so, like, there's a bunch of games that I have to, you know, I launch on Steam and then it launches Uplay. Or I launch on Steam. It was actually only two, but, you know, I launch on Steam and then it launches Origins. You know, I'm curious how that's going to work. How's Denuvo going to work on this? Also, Denuvo can go burn in a fire. I just want to make that opinion very clear. Because Denuvo can go burn in a fire. Hi, Revan. I noticed. You know? I don't know. This is just a weird little thing to come out of nowhere. I suppose we'll have to see where this goes. Now, this next topic, I'm just going to kind of breeze through really quickly here, because the next topic is ray tracing. How many of you know what that is? Before I even talk about it, before I mention it. So, one of the things that they showed off at a tech demo on during Gamescom is
your dedication will be rewarded.
Is that? Hang on, wasn't ready. Where the heck? There we go. Well, thank you very much, Ashok. I have no idea where the sub button is. I don't know. But thank you very much for the donation. Would you like to put that towards anything? No, ray tracing is absolutely not new technology. Ray tracing has been around for decades, if I'm not mistaken. Decades? I think we're in the decades. 90s? That sounds about right. But what they're trying to do... Thank you, Ashok. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so that new graphics cards are actually going to be capable of doing... I read your message, Ashok. The thing will never read your message. I'm not stupid enough to allow an automatic system to read messages automatically on my stream. I'm nowhere near that stupid. Anyway, so the idea is what ray tracing is attempting to accomplish with these new graphics cards is rather than the... Oh god, where do I even go with this? Rather than the dozens of tips and tricks that developers have come up with over the years to emulate realistic-looking or pretty-looking graphics, ray tracing will simply be able to do it. You simply have the objects and you have the lighting sources, and then it will actually bounce those light sources correctly so that it'll get to the viewer correctly, and you can just skip all that stuff. It will, theoretically, this is all theory, this is all something that we'll see in the coming years, but theoretically this is the kind of thing that will make it much, much, much easier and cheaper in order to develop fully three-dimensional games, as well as three-dimensional movies, basically. The ability to actually use... the idea, the theory here, is that if you have one of these new cards that is capable of doing this, that you will be more capable of pushing out your own stuff, you know, your own 3D animation stuff on a more home-based basis, hi Woar, rather than having a massive bank of servers whose entire job is to emulate all of this stuff. I don't know where we're actually going with all of this. Is still kind of hypothetical. Supposedly they already have some games which are using this technology, this new graphics card which can do ray tracing in this new manner. I want to stress that ray tracing is not new tech, it's just the way they're doing it and the way they're presenting it is new tech. Anyways, we'll see. It's an interesting idea. It's an interesting concept. What I love most about it is the idea that this might make developing 3D games cheaper. Might. Emphasis on that word. Because the thing is, you'd basically have to... Yeah, I've seen that, Barman. The concept is you'd have to have one of these cards that's capable of doing this, and then you'd have certain games which are specifically designed to use this, and not anything else. So in other words, you'd have to have the new card in order to play the game at all, because all of this stuff, it's not going to work elsewise, right? So you have to have the new card, and you have to have a game designed specifically for that. So that's basically several years off in the future before that actually becomes a real thing, before these kind of cards become more mainstream, to the point where it becomes financially feasible in order to try and lower your development costs by producing a game in this manner. Because the idea, again, is that using this kind of tech will be cheaper for developers. There's so much less specific work they have to do involved in setting up all of this crap, right? Because right now, the games that are actually using this tech that were just released and announced, or excuse me, that were just announced this last week, are games that have this new tech and have the old tech, which means they basically increase their overall work time and development time and budget rather than reducing it. So this is going to have to become the norm for this to really be beneficial. It's still an interesting possibility. I don't know where this is going, unfortunately. Again, this was just announced. We will see. It would be kind of cool if they go somewhere with this, but again, we will see. And of course, then people are going to be pushing for 1080p, and then people are going to be pushing for 4K, and then people are going to be pushing for blah, 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 blah. You got to have the VR version. That's very important. So again, very baby steps. We're just at the beginning of that whole thing. I do like the possibilities, but again, this is the kind of thing that's not going to matter. Pax and Gary and I were talking about this probably about 5 years from now is when this is really going to matter. Anyways, so let's talk about Amazon really quick. We're just blazing through these today. Who wants to talk about Amazon? I love Amazon. Amazon is the greatest. Amazon is so amazing. So for those of you not aware, Amazon is changing the terms of what they get from Amazon Prime. Now, for those of you not aware, 2 months ago, something like that, Amazon Prime increased price. It's more per month, or more per year, excuse me. They're removing 2 features from Amazon Prime. The first thing they're removing is you no longer get the 20% discount from pre-ordering games through Amazon Prime. Now, that was already kind of more limited than it should have been, and didn't apply to as many games as it should have applied to. However, that being stated, I know several people personally who are actually going to quit Amazon Prime because of that change alone. Because that basically shuffles the whole thing down below the worthwhile mark, the lack of that. You still get that pre-order bonus for the next week, by the way. Just letting you know, if anybody wants to pre-order anything right now, for the 20% bonus, that applies this week, and then it's gone. So I went ahead and pre-ordered Kingdom Hearts 3, because I hadn't already. Of course, I think I'm the last person in the universe who actually pre-orders as a matter of policy, so what the hell do I know? The other change is that the Twitch Prime thing, which you get from Amazon Prime, is no longer going to give you ad-free viewership. You're no longer going to get the ads gone from that. Now, that choice makes a lot more sense if I'm being 100% honest. As much as I dislike ads as much as anyone, in fact, probably more. I dislike more ads more than most people do. The fact of the matter is, what Amazon needs is the ability to say, these many eyeballs have been glued to your ads, give us this much money. For those of you not aware, the way that larger companies make money based off of ad revenue is what they do is they sell ad space based on eyeballs. That's their term, not mine. And eyeballs is how many people they can either... In the old days, it was estimated, but nowadays they can actually prove how many people watch ads. Now, they count these in terms of views, not in terms of minutes, but views is all anyone cares about. As long as 500,000 people see this ad, this is worth 500,000 units of currency in actual ad revenue. Does that make sense? Because the actual currency for ad revenue is eyeballs, is how many views, how many clicks, that kind of a thing. So, the reason the ad revenue change makes a little bit of sense is because this way they can say a lot more people are seeing those ads and therefore charge more money for those ads. Blah, 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 blah. That change makes sense. I don't like it, but it still makes sense. The pre-order change is just bizarre. I mean, the pre-order change is filled with fear. Thank you very, very much, Gold Tech. As ever, those Twitch Prime subs are much appreciated, which, speaking of which, I just want to make this very, very clear that I do not blame any of you if you stop doing Amazon Prime, and as a consequence, I lose Twitch Prime subs. I get that. I understand. No judgment. In all honesty, I expect my own monthly income will go down as a consequence of this change and losing Twitch Prime subs. That's just life. That's just reality. I get it. I totally understand. We'll see what they do. We'll see what they try to do to make up for this, because right now I feel like Twitch Prime is not sufficient for most people. Now, some people might wonder, why do I still have Amazon Prime? Because I order stuff through Amazon. Because the free shipping is by itself worth the money for me. If I literally got absolutely zero other benefit from Amazon Prime, the free shipping alone is making me save money in the long term. So I'm sticking with Amazon Prime because of that reason alone. It is nice to have the Amazon show stuff, but if I'm being honest, I think I can name 2 shows on Amazon that I've actually watched as a result of my Amazon Prime. One was for my niece that I've talked about, Lost in Oz, and one is Grand Tour, and that is it. But whatever, as they say. We will see. The other thing, though, so somebody asked why I pre-order everything as a matter of course. I was actually talking about that just last night. Someone was asking me about that. So I know which games I want and like, and so I order them. Like, the way my mind works is I like things to be completed. I know that sounds weird. Hi, Spokov. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but what I mean by that is, once I have decided that I want this floss, which you can't even see because it's green. Once I've decided I want this floss, the way my mind works is I just want to purchase this and be done with it. Does that make sense? I don't want to sit and think about it. I don't want to have a list. I don't want to be like, well, I'll get it when it's on sale. There's also the fact that I tend to, if it's a game from a developer that I actually want to promote or assist in terms of their sales, then I have no problem paying full price for it. I've actually made that comment before. Day one purchase is usually what I refer to that as. In other words, this is a game what I actually mean by that is this is a game that is worth $60 or $40 to me because I want to support this game. I want to support this line of development, and I want to support this developer. Like my most famous example of that is probably Witcher 3, where I purchased Witcher 3 with no intention to ever play it because I wanted to support the company. The next reason is because it's just how do I phrase this? I play video games for a living, so it's kind of incumbent upon me to make sure that I have the games when they come out ready to go so I can stream them or record them or play them or whatever. Hence, the idea being I pre-order basically for the show. And that's really the final reason. Most of my pre-orders, in fact, I'd say 90% of my pre-orders are for the show. Yeah, no kidding, Zedslayer. I'm not going to say anything about that, Hazardous. Not going to say anything about that. I guess that's all I got. That's my reasons. Amazon sucks. Moving on. How many of you guys have ever played the Wiki Game? Whoops. Oh, shoot. Hang on a second. Don't do this to me. Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Moment. There we go. Is this not? Oh, god dang it. I'm sorry. Give me another moment. I swear we'll be ready in a second. Professional streamer, ladies and gentlemen. There probably is a game about getting to Hitler ASAP. I don't know about it personally. Never heard of that. That should do. Yeah, we'll go ahead and crop this a little bit, make it look a little nicer. Why not? This is the Wiki Game. Boop. I just kind of wanted to show this off. This is something that I have played idly and has actually become an actual app, as you can see here. The idea is, so there's several versions. So first of all, there's the least clicks. In other words, get to something with the least amount of clicks. There's speed race. In other words, get to the topic as fast as possible. There's reaching Jesus in 5 clicks. There's get to your destination without ever clicking on the United States. And there's the 6 degrees. In other words, find a goal within 6 clicks. Now, the only one I actually enjoy playing at all is this one. Although I've been really sucking at this one, so we have to go from parrot to lobster. Any ideas? We need to get to parrot to lobster in about 3 clicks. What do you guys think? This is amusing. This is a nice little game. This is basically the definition of you have a couple of minutes while waiting for the bus or waiting for your order. Tropical, alright. What else you got? I've actually already done this one, obviously, but I really sucked at it. I can't seem to find a quicker way to go through this. Southern Hemisphere? Let's see here. Northern Hemisphere. Southern Hemisphere, there we go. Alright, now we're in the Southern Hemisphere. Continents are there. Summer, winter, equinox, climates, Antarctic. Australia, New Zealand. Tropic of Capricorn. Solar eclipses. We can get to solar eclipses from Parrot. Uruguay. Galactic Center. Hang on. Up. I didn't see seafood. I don't see ocean either. Oh, there's ocean. Okay, here we go. Oceans. Okay, we're in the ocean. So we got sea, American English, oceanographers, biography, carbon cycle, climate, habitat, species, emergence of life, elements, compounds, liquid, lakes of Titan, Mars, Venus, Runaway greenhouse effect, salts, ammonia, ice, dwarf planets, Europa, giant planets, atmospheric. You kind of, I do like how they highlight the blue here. It makes it a little bit easier. You cannot use search. That's actually part of the game, is that you're not supposed to use search. But that's mostly for the other thing. Emergence of life? Okay, let's go back up to emergence of life. Where was that? Of course, you can also just play this by yourself by going to Wikipedia. Which is what, you know, me and my friends used to do when we were bored at work. Alright, so earliest known life forms, microorganisms, organic compounds, paleontology, chemistry, organisms, chemical... We're up to 5 clicks so far. I've already got you beat, guys. The way I did it, I'll just go ahead and tell you now that we've bypassed it. I went with Northern Hemisphere, United States, Maine, lobster. That was my path to get here. Sea? Did I see sea? Life, Earth. I don't see sea yet. The goal is lobster. It's at the top. You can see it at the very top. What do we got here? Well, unlike Candy Crush, it's free, and it's actually fun because it's intellectually stimulating rather than a puzzle game. Fossil evidence extinct. Age of the Earth. Crust. I mean, if you don't like this, that's totally cool. I just want to kind of show this off briefly. Gary introduced me to this specific app just this last week. This is not against the clock, no. I'm just following your guys' path here. Fossil life? Okay, let's go with fossil life. Where was that? Fossil life, it's going to be up a bit. Microfossils. Okay, age of the year. Where the hell was fossil? Oh, there it is. Well, that's fossil evidence. Where was fossil life? Big Bang! There we go. Let's go to the Big Bang. We'll find lobsters that way. Where the hell's fossil life? I don't see it. Is it that far ago? Yeah, I don't see it. The name of the app is the Wiki Game. Here, hang on. Let's just give up. We give up. We give up. There we go. The Wiki Game. It looks like this. I don't remember the developers. Blah, 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 blah. They don't tell the developers. Whatever. Whatever. Oop. Now, some of these are really easy. Like Pacific Ocean to Tokyo. That's a joke, right? Anybody can do Pacific Ocean to Tokyo. Or this one, pizza to hamburger. I did this in 2 clicks. Pizza to fast food to hamburger. Again, that one was a joke. Let's see the next one here. I haven't done this one. Airplane to submarine. Not that I'm aware of, Dream Whisperer, but then again, I wouldn't know because I have that turned off by default. So I'm thinking vehicle. Right, we're trying to get to submarine. We could go with military. What do we got here? Right, brothers, auto, World War I. We could go with World War I. There's World War II. Yeah, I don't see Navy at first, but it might be there eventually. I mean, let's see here. Antecedents, gliders, Greek legend, blah, 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 blah. Here, let's go down a step. Down a step. Come on, work. Or not, that's fine. Early powered flights. Hang on. World War I. Okay, here we go. Blah, 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 blah. Fighter aces. World War II. Battle of Blitzkrieg. Battle of Britain. Pacific War. Jet aircraft. I still don't see Navy. That's so strange. I mean, that was a big deal leading into World War I with what's-his-face. I can't remember his name. I did a whole report on him. I can't think of his damn name right now. Still not seeing Navy. Electric motor, maybe? Jet? Ramjet, scramjet. There we go. That's what we need. No, let's. Why would you do that, Harriet? Why would you cheat? That's so strange. I would never cheat at a game. Okay, so you wanted World War II. So let's go ahead and ship to. There it is, World War II. This will be a nice, simple topic. Okay, here we go. Blah, 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 blah. Axis, allies. Deadliest conflicts in human history. Lots of death. Nuclear weapons. Starvation. Holocaust. You have to act casual when you say things like this, otherwise you just kind of lose your mind. What do we got here? Midway. Occupied France, Southern China, war in Europe was concluded with all this stuff we've seen a billion times in movies and games. Nuclear weapon. You want me to do with nuclear weapons? Oh, okay. It's an option in the settings. I'm not going to pull it up, obviously, because I'm not showing you my settings with my personal info on stream, but it's in the settings. Okay, so you said we should go with the Pacific. Not the Pacific in general, the Pacific Theater. Which I don't actually see here. We go with one of the battles in the Pacific, maybe. Well, there's the... Well, oh, dude, the Battle of the Atlantic. Dude, there we go. Bam. There we go. United States Navy, convoys, blah, blah, blah. Come on, we know submarines were involved. We know about the tonnage war. There we are. Well, that's Type 7 submarines. We need like a... I guess we can do that. So Type 7 submarines, which are a U-boat, which is a submarine. Bam. Anywho, you get the idea. I just wanted to kind of showcase this. It's a cute little game if you're bored for a few minutes at a time. And I just wanted to kind of showcase that really quick. I'll probably be uninstalling it now. Because I do not have minutes of time in my life. So. How many of you guys like World of Warcraft? Words. I like World of Warcraft. I used to anyways. I don't anymore. I got an arrow to my knee.
Let go. Let go. No! I am queen. This is the empire I built. It is over. People.
My queen, we loved you. You betrayed us.
This is my fault. No! 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 This was not the deal I made!
Deal? I like deals.
Who are you? Show yourself! At once!
For 1,000 years, bound beneath these waves, I have watched you. I have tasted your essence.
You?
It won't be long now. Your death is near. Only I can sustain you. Let go. Serve me.
You are nothing.
Nothing. I am a god. Before you walked this land, I ruled.
Magnificent.
Serve me, and we will rebuild my empire.
No.
No? You there! You will die!
A queen! Not a slave. You've watched me for 1,000 years, so you know what I want. Take my people. With them, I will raise an army, conquer your enemies, build an empire as queen. Or let me die, and you will remain here, a prisoner. The god of nothing.
Arise, Azshara. Arise, my queen.
Dun dun dun. Pause. So, very well done visually and audibly. That's actually, I think, one of the best videos they've put together from a purely directorial perspective. Very well presented. That being said, I do have to admit that Tizara's timing is just weird. What the hell, Tizara? Thank you. Thank you, Azshara. Okay, so here's the catch. Why this? Why now? Okay. Now, like, for example, okay, so I mentioned, let me just talk about a couple things really quick before we get it. So there's the Empire, there's all the people who love their queen because, you know, they're dumb. There's the fish. Now, I find this hysterical and interesting. I have heard 3 separate theories as to who is talking through the fish in this scene. We know it's N'Zoth later, or one of the old gods, but who the hell is this one? And I've heard 3 different people or 3 different theories from people who pay attention to the lore who've been like, oh, this is obvious. And every single theory has been, well, it's obviously such and such, even though they disagree with each other. I find that fascinating. I myself am not immune to this. My automatic thought was that this was Azeroth talking. Let go. It's over. It's all good. Other people have said it's so obvious that it's a loon. The third theory is, of course, that it's Unzoth. Now, I don't actually buy that of the 3, personally. I don't think that Unzoth is speaking here. There's too many things that don't really feel like his style or approach here, especially given what he does immediately after this. I hadn't even heard the assumption that it's her voice. So, there you go. That's 4 possibilities now. So that's cool. Then she breaks, and then they die and drown. Circlet of stars. Duh. And then, so this is kind of interesting because she falls in, and then she fades to black. And from there all the way up until here is all an illusion. And that's also relevant because that's kind of Unzoth's thing. He's the dreamer. So he gives her all these dreams, first about her undead coming, and then he starts talking about, Now, one little tidbit I like here is we see all of his eyes for just a second right there, and then they all coalesce into the fish. This is part of what I mean by how well directed this is. They did a really good amount of stuff with a lot of different things here. Anywho, so another thing I like about this, before we go talking about the negative stuff, is that this is very, how do I phrase this? This is very Azshara. She's got her issues. It's self-important to the point of insanity, but she is very observant and very intelligent. And so she puts together very quickly that this being is not reaching out to her because it's benefiting her. It's not reaching out to her because, you know, oh, I am super amazingly awesome, despite the fact that he's going out of his way to present himself as powerful as possible. She recognizes that he needs her and correctly attributes the power disparity / balance between the two in order to leverage that. Now, I find that amusing, and of course very in character for her. Now, I also find it very in character for her that her reaction to seeing the Black Empire is the word magnificent. Look at that. She is enthralled with the idea of the Black Empire. What the hell's wrong with this woman? What is wrong with her? Anyways, so then she starts bargaining with Unzoth. And what I love best, and this is the scene, well, I have several complaints about certain little bits of this. Like, I could nitpick certain issues with the rest of this. This scene right here is perfection, in my opinion. This is brilliant. So we come back from the illusion. She's under the water, and the first thing on her expression, she's got this just smug, I've won expression. And she just kind of looks around, waiting, and a few seconds pass, and a few bubbles leave her throat, and she gets a little bit less certain. And the sound for this section, I'm not going to turn the audio back on, but the sound for this section is great. And you can see the vision of the video is starting to get more and more black and more hazy as she starts to drown here. And she just starts panicking a little bit more and a little bit more. And you can kind of see how it just crumbles. And I love that moment of uncertainty here of, oh God, oh God. Interestingly enough, though, she does adhere to, she keeps with it. she sticks to her guns, basically. Yeah, I wouldn't have done the scare cord myself either, but I love the audio immediately before that. They do a perfect job of sounding what drowning is like. It's horrifying. And then, because of course Unzoth would make her suffer for it. Of course he would. And so then he actually shows up to some extent, or I think this is visual myself. I don't think he's physically there because that just makes no sense. Obvious egg allegory is obvious. Now, let's go ahead and pause on this image for just a second, because let's talk about the negatives of this video. Now, let's rewind time a moment here. Let's go back to Warlords. They're like, all right, we're going to do the Warlords of Draenor, and that's the name of the game, and all the story is going to be about the Warlords. Now, granted, Warlords completely dropped the ball. However, Warlords is... Warlords' lead-up videos were, how do I phrase this as bestly I can, incredibly awesome. And all fairly relevant to stuff that was both happening and stuff that was going to be going through the course of the expansion. Legion's was actually better. Legion is a much better example. Because in Legion we got 3 videos, and each one of them was extremely plot relevant, setting relevant, and character relevant. Correct, Tara. So, oh, I'm sorry, I just realized I should put the chat back up here. Let me move this back down a bit so you can see the chat. There we go. Sorry. So, you know, we had the Gul'dan one, which added characterization for Gul'dan, continued to make him a villainous character, really fleshed him out, you know, was obviously plot relevant. The actual origination of how alternate Gul'dan learned about the Legion, etc., etc. We had Khadgar's, which was extremely plot relevant and basically solidified his character, his belief in the unity of the many versus the singularity of the one. And, you know, some interesting backstory about that, and the nature of what's going on with the Guardian. And then we had the one with Illidan, which is just done. I don't really feel like I need to add anything about that. Yeah, I know, Necro. Like I said, Warlords isn't the best example, but Legion was a clear and obvious step up. So then we get to BFA, and BFA is a mixed bag. I think the Jaina Warbringer was amazing, very character relevant, and story relevant. Obviously, her going back to Kul Tiras, her personal story through Kul Tiras, and of course the ship, you know, all that makes sense. There's some foreshadowing there all over the place. The Sylvanas one sucked, in my opinion. I've already given my opinion on that. I'm just going to rush over it really quick. I think it sucked. I think it was lackluster in terms of basic visual and presentation and design, in addition to everything else. This one, though, again, much, much better presented. But why this one? And why now? So here's the thing. BFA has been marketed since last year as the Horde versus the Alliance. The Horde versus the Alliance. The Horde versus the Alliance. Like, that's they've been hammering that point over and over and over and over and over. They have been doing interviews over the last week about how this is about the Horde versus Alliance. They did an interview literally 2 days ago about that. That's how much they've been pushing that narrative. Why push that narrative if they're going to go in this kind of direction? Furthermore, Azshara has had, I'd say about 1% of relevance in BFA. Like, have you noticed that? Well, no, it's not so much that I think they're misleading on purpose. I think this is bad marketing. In all honesty, I think they've been pushing the Horde versus Alliance thing too hard to obfuscate too hard. You know when you say, don't worry, there's nothing over behind this curtain. There's nothing in that curtain. Ignore that curtain. The curtain's not there. The curtain, the curtain, the curtain. All you're doing is drawing attention to it. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with the bait and switch. Not really. But they're hammering this point way too hard. And the fact that they announced relatively early on that there's going to be 3 Warbringers video and that one of them will be about Azshara was just kind of, okay. Well, we know with certainty then that Azshara and the Naga are going to be involved. Now, Azshara is actually in BFA, like I said, extremely briefly. She's in one dungeon. And the Naga make an appearance in the same way the Naga have been in basically every expansion to date, which is to say, they're there as generic bad guys and nothing else. But this feels wrong. And I don't mean to bash BFA again, but I really feel like their marketing approach here is actively wrong. I feel like they're going about this the wrong way. Let me rewind a little bit. You know what I would have done? Because I always like to give my own thoughts rather than just saying bad. I think... Oh, I'm sure, Tazara. I think what they should have done is I think they should have started with Azshara. Make this the first video they released, like a month or 2 ago. And have this be the lead-up video to BFA. And have this be the first real announcement about BFA, other than, you know, we're going with the Horde and Alliance, Expeditions, Warfronts, etc. You gotta do some kind of marketing, that's a duh. But I wouldn't have tried as hard, and I would have started with this one. Starting with this one puts everyone in the mindset of, huh, okay, because now you've put your first foot forward on what we are to expect. Then you go ahead and do the Jaina one. And that one is like, okay, so now we know another thing to expect. Heavy character stuff and some kind of conclusion of Jaina's story arc and the Theramore stuff. And then do the Sylvanas one. Do it better. But, you know, do the Sylvanas one, at, you know, as, you know, Burning of the Tree, blah, 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 Atrocity Teldrassil. And that leading into the differing perspective there, right? Doing that, in my opinion, starts as... there's a term for this type of a marketing strategy. I forget what it's called. But it's the idea of you start with what your main goal, main theme is, but you start with that, and then you kind of start talking about all the other things. In other words, you build the pillar, and then you flesh out everything around the pillar. Make sense? You know, once you have that structure, that foundation in place, which in this case would be the Azshara video, then we talk about all the other stuff that's going on, all the stuff that's going on around it, and blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. I think that would have been a much better perspective, because the other problem with this video, and it's a minor problem because it's a very cool video, is that there's very, very little new information here. In fact, there is, in my opinion, only one bit of new information here, and that is this, which is why I paused here. This bit right there, watch their eyes. This right here is the only bit of information this gives, and even this is something that's implied. However, given the relative quality of this video, I think we can assume that this does mean something. The irony of this, for those of you not aware, is I was actively talking about how disappointed I am in the Naga as a race, literally in the hours leading up to this video being released. The implication here is that the Naga, all of the Naga, with the exception of Azshara herself, are mind-controlled, are literally being mentally dominated or altered or whatever by Unzoth and the pact that she made with him, or it, if you prefer. Now, that is interesting, because that does actually explain the inconsistency of the Naga. The Naga have almost universally been generic bad guys in every single one of their presentations, with extremely few exceptions. Literally 2 exceptions I can think of off the top of my head. And so this gives us that idea of where they might be going with that. Yeah, I know that that's a retcon, but... Now, the reason why this is interesting to me, well, I'm going to give a theory that I already gave on stream, but we're at Loreweek, so, you know, more people listening to it here. I think the Naga will be playable in mid-expansion. Now, hear me out. Usually, when you release a new expansion from a purely marketing and financial perspective, you need to have hooks to get people involved, to get people invested. And some of the biggest and most obvious and crowd-pleasing hooks are new classes and new playables. Now, BFA hasn't really had either. There are no new classes, and despite the usage of allied races, there aren't really new playables. Those aren't hooks. Those will not sell new players on the expansion, only existing ones, people who are already invested. Thus, by literal definition, they are not hooks. However, what almost every expansion has done, and this is true for other MMOs as well, is they've been like, and now you can play as such and such right at the beginning, as a way to get you involved and to get you playing that expansion right at the beginning. However, every expansion for WoW, at the very least, has followed the exact same pattern when it comes to its subscriber base. You start off, there's a big boost, usually right before the expansion, and right when the expansion comes up in terms of subscriber count. And then interest wanes over the course of the expansion, and subscribers just kind of slowly peter out. And then usually there's another spike at either a major patch, like usually the final patch usually gives another spike, and then we go to the next expansion. This would be an idea to try and combat that slump, to get players invested or interested in playing mid-expansion, which is something they've never done before. Thus, maybe the Naga really will be playable, finally, in mid-patch, if you follow my thinking here. This would be an excellent way to combat that mid-section slump, keep interest going, and continue to follow the way they've been taking the plots. And I gotta say plots because there's actually quite a few plots going on right here. Now that's just a theory, a lore theory. But in all honesty, I do think that's the one and only thing that makes that I really pulled away from this video as far as something to think about or something to analyze going forward. The fact that the Naga are being mind controlled. If nothing else, it means that there's a likelihood, like generally, if fiction shows you that someone's being mind controlled, they're doing it because there's going to be some way to subvert, fix, or destroy that, right? Thus, the idea here is now that they have shown us this, for the first time, I feel like pointing out, the possibility now exists, and from an out-of-character meta perspective, that we are going to break this mind control, hence being able to play the Naga. Now, even if the Naga are not playable, though, I'm pretty sure that's the exact direction they're going to go with on this one. Question is, how do they do anything like that? There's a lot of different possibilities of where this could go or how they could do this. Oh, also, Azshara is incredibly evil. I know we already knew this, but, you know, I just thought I'd point it out. Yay, all my people are mind-controlled. Magnificent. I know, Azshara's got issues. I mean, I do like this little bit here where she's trying to hold back the tides from destroying her people because that's her people. Those are my things. You don't get to break those. Oh, yeah, and for those of you not aware, spoilers, there's old gods in BFA. No, I gotta conquer the world first, Azshara. I've just got so many other things to do. Do I think she's the one who did what, Savicom? I'm sorry. This face right here pretty much says it all. The kind of rage. The rage born of violation. This is my empire! You don't get this! You don't get to take this from me! And crack. She was pretty much in the perfect mindset to go ahead and fall for this particular thing. Oh, do I... No, I don't... I think that Unzoth is the one pushing the mind control. My opinion. Ah! God damn, that startled me. Jump scares! Thank you, Azshara. Would you like to put that towards anything? Hang on, that's actually... There we go. Oh yeah, another theory while I'm here is I don't think the Horde versus Alliance thing is going to be resolved at all. I think it's just going to be the Horde versus Alliance forever, and we're just at war forever. The end. Thank you, Azshara. I'm still doing some of the research and prep work for that. No, I agree, Dream Whisperer. If I was to presume, based on my knowledge of how magic works in this setting, I would say that she is the component for the spell that is mind-controlling them. Make sense? So Unzoth technically cast the spell, but he needed a focus in order to maintain it, and that is her. Oh yeah, and obviously several people are presuming that Unzoth is Bwonsamdi's boss. I just thought I'd mention that really quick. I kind of hope that's not true, but whatever, I suppose we'll find out when we get there. Yeah, basically Faldaris, exactly. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, apparently you can just resurrect an elemental even if they've been permanently destroyed in their home plane. That's extremely stupid. Oh yeah, the last... there was one other thing I didn't mention. Hang on. So, this is actually not the first time that they've done this with Unzoth. Hang on, where's his eyes? He's going to open his eyes in a second here. There we go. So he's got that particular glow and particular thing. Now, Blizzard does this, but then again, everyone does this. They like to be color-coded, basically, right? In other words, there's usually some color coding going on to give you an immediate visual shortcut of saying, well, this is such and such. And I point that out because, as several people have already pointed out, the color for Unzoth, which is best described with this little bit right here, that's Unzoth's color. This really bright yellow with shades of orange and red. And it's a very distinct color that we've actually seen several times before. Most notably with Deathwing himself. And a couple other individuals here and there. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, especially since I don't remember all of them right now. But I just point that out because other people pointed it out. I don't want people to think I forgot about it. Also, notice she's got that coloring going on too now. Well, I mean, unless we count Hearthstone or the book, yeah, this is Unzoth's first real appearance. This is definitely his first... See, that's actually another thing, which is kind of weird. To my knowledge, there's no way to see these videos in-game. I could be wrong about that. But the Legion videos you could see in-game. But we can't see these videos in-game. So, that's weird. And the dog is barking. The dog is so upset about these eyeballs. You have no idea, guys. Yeah, I noticed that too, Necro. At this point, I'm not even sure what I think about that. we've been told in-game and out-of-game that Azshara is merely Titan's blood, and there's nothing else to it. No, really. If they're just flat-out lying about that, I'm actually going to be a little upset, because that's cheap marketing. That's basically, no, it's not Khan, 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 nah, it's Khan. It's just cheap. That's just cheap. Oh, apparently you can see the Jaina video if you do the Siege of Borealis. I wouldn't know, because I don't have the ability to mythics, especially not on the Alliance side. So there you go, you can see one video over there. Oh, that's true. Obviously, Sylvanas' is in-game, too. So, there you go. They are available in-game. Complaint withdrawn. Sort of. And yeah, I saw that one. Anyways, I don't actually have anything else to talk about this. So I was going to poll you guys to see what you wanted me to do for the rest of the day. But then I realized that, no, I'm just going to do what I need to do for the rest of the day. Sorry, guys. You don't get a choice. Choice withdrawn. I am, however, going to chop this off and go get some work done, as well as hanging out with my friend Pax. I hope you've enjoyed. Remember, Floodgates open up next week. That's next Sunday. And keep your eyes on the website, because we're back to the point where we're updating that regularly. So I hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you around, guys.